Canadian rail line was the lifeblood for all communities on the prairies. For Deloraine, it meant moving the entire town in the winter of 1887 to envelop the line.
We've noticed that for years, even when I was in high school. Wascata had a museum and Deloraine had a temporary one, but it never evolved and eventually closed. So yeah, it's always something that I've noticed was missing. I've lived here and in the area most of my life, so it's something you notice. We see so much potential here in preserving the heritage of the community, and even when I'm familiar and come from that type of a background, I have learned so much just preparing for this project. It's unbelievable the amount of heritage that we don't know.
So an enthusiastic and energetic group got to work forming the Deloraine Winchester Historical Society, with the ultimate goal being a permanent home for our history. But that wasn't all. The Del-Win Society also wanted to pay homage to the history of the wooden giants that brought life to our region, and the Prairie Sentinel Park project was born.
Amanda Berger, one of our co-chairs, that came up with the idea of there used to be an elevator here where the park is, and perhaps we could do something along the lines of remembering that elevator. And it just blossomed from there, because they said, well, there was more than one elevator in town. There were at least 4, and there were elevators all over the municipality, and it is Deloraine Winchester Historical Society, so we decided we could encompass everybody if we broadened the project.
We almost had, isn't it like 14 elevators in our region?
At peak, we had 13 in 1928 operating just within the municipality and within town. In Deloraine alone, at peak, we had 6 elevators going, and that was in 1904. And I'm not exactly sure when that ended, because the records, I have a 5-year gap in the licensing records, so elevators disappeared. We have no idea what happened to them. But when they came back online, there were only 4.
Okay, now to say you're the Indiana Jones of the elevator search in Deloraine Winchester puts it very lightly. You have unearthed so much history.
It's fascinating. I thought we might have 10 or 11 elevator and grain companies involved in the municipality and within town. The last time I counted, I think I had 22. So, and they're fascinating stories. Yeah, it's amazing.
Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite thing that you've discovered in all your research?
I think probably the favorite piece, and this is actually giving away a future quiz question answer.
There you go.
R.P. Roblin built an elevator here in 1896. R.P. Roblin was the 9th Premier of Manitoba. He went into office in 1900 and served as the Premier for 15 years. So we had a former Premier of Manitoba owned an elevator, built an elevator in Deloraine. Okay, what we're going to see here in 2021 is a beautified park space to begin with. It's been neglected the past few years, and we have a vision of having 17 storyboards telling the story not only of just the elevators, but the grain companies that built them, the operators, the grain buyers, all of the elevators that we know to have been built within the municipality and within the town limits. We, as going back to that, having 13 operating at peak, there's 1 elevator in the entire municipality. And to hazard a guess, I'd say, because I haven't done the final count yet, but I'd say we probably had around 30 elevators built within the municipality total over the years.
We've lost so much in that area, and they are the sentinels of the prairie. They marked a certain time and locations.
Yes, a certain time and space. I'm moving into Saskatchewan here a little bit, but on, I believe it's Highway 11 between Stoughton and Regina. I used to travel that highway a lot. And because there were elevators every 6 miles, and that highway runs completely straight, there was no point between Stoughton and Regina that you couldn't see an elevator ahead of you and an elevator behind you. And none of them are left. And Winchester's the same. We have the one just west of town, but there are no other elevators within sight going any direction.
And they were a lifeblood to a community.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's another interesting thing that I think we don't think about, because we know that we grow more than wheat, but this country was built on wheat. They were wheat elevators, not grain elevators per se, because that's what we exported. 65% of the crop grown was wheat, so the balance was basically oats and barley and things that farmers would use, right on the farm, feeding their horses and their cattle and their livestock. So yeah, one of the storyboards is called "When Wheat Was King," and it's another really interesting story.
What's your wish for the park and what it's going to do for the community, for future generations?
My wish is that we will get our vision realized. We do have a broader vision, even beyond the initial getting the storyboards up. We have a few other ideas for enhancing the park, and I hope that people will come and spend time and enjoy it. And I don't think our young people in particular have any idea how important the grain industry was to this region, and I hope that they'll take that away too. Deloraine was the terminus for the CPR rail line from 1886 to 1892. This was an important place on the map, and I don't think we know that, and we don't give it enough recognition.
So you really want to mark that again? You want to put us on the map again?
I do, yeah. It was a happening place. It was an important place to be. Yeah.
And we want to do it again.
And we want to do it again.
But that's not all the Deloraine Winchester Historical Society is doing. Until a museum location is claimed, the Society is utilizing the Town Tourism Information Center as a mini museum with rotating exhibits. First up, the long history of the Boy Scouts in our community.
That's what I'm First Deloraine Scout Troop, 1910 to 1912. Yeah. And that's the center of this showcase here. It was started by, there's a picture of him in the center here, Reverend Common Ching in the center with the white sweater on here. And some are also named in the history book. This one here is a scrapbook that Bruce Hainsworth and Hazel made of the training that the leaders take. You have to go to a camp and get your gill well. Yeah, and this is all about the gill well. And another one that says, now this is Neil Gilson, and formerly of Deloraine, and now with the Winnipeg 2nd Scouts, receiving the Queen's Scout Award. Yeah. So there's a lot of history here that people don't know about.
So how long have you had these photo albums and clippings rumbling around your...
My possession?
Yeah.
Bruce Hainsworth gave them to me when Marilyn Arnold and I took over the Cubs and Scouts. And that was quite a few years ago. My son was in Beavers. He was 5. He's now 37, 38.
But you've kept them.
Yeah. It was a history that shouldn't be lost in Deloraine. I felt we should keep it. Well, that's what we want to try and do here, is get everybody's story from downtown of Deloraine and Winchester. We want to get it all itemized and cataloged, and then it's not lost forever. Because that's what happens. People move on, pass on, and the story's lost.
Do you think the kids today realize that there were 6 elevators? And not all at once, maybe on Main Street in Deloraine, but that we used to have that kind of a landscape?
I don't think kids or people realize what a hub Deloraine was. Yeah. But we're going to educate them.
Now that the coronavirus restrictions allow museums to operate at 25%, the Deloraine Winchester Historical Society is prepared.
It's going to depend on how much interest there is and how busy it is. And with COVID, people are going to feel comfortable, although we're going to, like I said, keep it down to 2 people in here at a time.
And will we provide masks if they don't wear them? Or?
We're going to have rubber gloves so that they can look through photograph albums and things. Yeah, so, and, you know, anything like that they can touch. And yeah, we will be wearing masks, so I guess it'll be like any other place in town, you know. We would appreciate wearing masks.
If you want to support or share some of your history of Deloraine Winchester with the Historical Society, why not become a member? Pay only $5 a person and you can have a membership to the Deloraine Winchester Historical Society. Send your membership fee to the Del-Win Historical Society, Box 9, Deloraine, Manitoba, R0M0M0. And join us on Facebook. You can like our page and share in the trivia and nostalgia that almost 450 fellow historians post to our wall. And in honor of Heritage Day Canada, post or Instagram some of our local history. But don't forget to use hashtag Proudly Deloraine and hashtag Heritage Day Canada. And mark your calendar for the grand opening of the Prairie Sentinel Park on June 19, 2021. We have lots more stories to share. Have you ever heard the one of the grain elevator that walked down the highway? Well, stay tuned.